Hey, what's up guys? Shane here. So with all gyms being shut down because of the coronavirus, I've been getting a lot of questions asking about how can I keep up with my workout routine, how can I train at home, how can I get my fight training in if I don't have access to training with partners. And believe me, I totally understand that. It takes two to tango, and we just released our online courses, which are all partner based. However, I wanted to remind you guys that you can take a lot of these drills and do them in a solo format. You can train on a heavy bag, you can train with a double end bag, but one of the best solo exercises that I believe is shadowboxing. Right? You can practice your footwork, your balance, your offense, your defense, your head movement, your feints, your takedown defense. You can even do shadow grappling, and I recommend that you do that during this time of quarantine. Okay, with all of that being said, I understand that your gym was your second home, you have a second family there, and I encourage you guys to keep up with that community. Check in with friends and training partners, give them a call, text message, FaceTime, just make sure you keep that community strong because I think that's most important in these current times. That being said, we're going to do a 6-step footwork pattern that you can do both orthodox and southpaw, so it kind of comes out to be 12 movements. And then I'll give you the concept behind those so that you can do it in a free form, in a freestyle manner, and just get good work in shadowboxing, which like I said is probably hands down the best solo training that you can do anyway. All right, let's take a look. Okay, the at-home boxing drill that we're going to do today covers a 6-step footwork pattern. And I'm first going to demonstrate for you in full what it looks like when you chain them all together to turn it into a systematic pattern. And then I'm going to break down the concepts so you can do it freestyle, so that you can mix it up and just understand the concepts and the strategies behind the movements, not just understand what to do, but why to do it. Okay, so let's demonstrate what it looks like in full first. All right, so that's 12. That's doing it from orthodox and then doing it to southpaw. Now, if you're moving at fight speed like that, and you're doing that back to back for a full round, for a 3-minute round, and then you're doing that for 3 to 5 rounds, it's gonna be a great workout. But again, let me explain what I'm doing, why I'm doing it, and then you can do it in order, like I said, or you can break it up. You can mix it up and just sort of freestyle on your own. So the first one that we're doing is a probing step. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna step forward with this lead foot, micro step, as I throw a lead jab, bang. Now notice I said micro step. I think that's probably the #1 mistake that people make is they step too far. They think about closing the distance and they take this big long step. Just take a small step, 1 inch, 2 inches, 3 inches. Now there's gonna be different times where I do have to take a big step, but when you get in the habit of micro stepping. So what we're gonna do is time it. Time our hand with our foot. And if you've watched my videos in the past, I talk about the puppet string drill, right? This is a concept I really like. So when my arm is at full extension, the foot should hit the ground, bang. Now as the arm comes back, the foot comes back. Perfectly in sync, right? It's almost like I'm making a sound effect for my punch, but I'm not actually stomping on the ground, right? Bang. Micro step, okay? Now this motion that we're doing here is something that we use in a fight all the time, right? Opening round, we're feeling each other out, bang, we get just close enough to hit them with the punch, and then we step right back out of range with the probing jab. Or maybe we're doing this to set up a round kick in Muay Thai, right? I take this initial cheat step, then I throw the roundhouse kick, okay? Or maybe I'm doing it with a teep, bang. Okay? So this probing motion is something that you're going to be using throughout your fight career, no matter what combat sport you're in. All right, so get comfortable with that. And just remember that I can throw this punch and retreat right back, and when I do that, I want to keep some weight in this rear foot. If I really double down and go forward, I'm going to get stuck here, right? There's going to be more power on the punch, but I'm more likely to get countered. Whereas if I keep some weight back here, bang, I can easily pull that weight right back. So that's your probing step or probing jab. The next one now is we're going to retreat. We're going to throw a retreating jab. So I'm still going to throw the jab with the lead hand, but now the rear foot steps back, okay? So this is if someone's coming in and I want to fire off something to make them blink, to make them flinch, to keep them away, or maybe have them run into my punch, but I'm also taking my head, their target, away from them, right? You can see how I'm fading away as I do that. And again, I can come right back into the fight and step right back, little micro step as I throw it, or I can continue retreating. To really putting the pressure on, I can step, and then I can circle and take the center of the cage, right? Back. Or I can double it up. I step and jab, and just continue to do that. All right, simple, retreating step. Now this motion, again, we can use this not just in boxing, but you're gonna see this often in kickboxing, in MMA, right? Let's say they throw a round kick and I catch, and if I have to pass this leg because I wanna counter with a right kick of my own, then I have to take this retreating step to hollow my body out so I can pass the leg. Otherwise, their leg's gonna get caught on my torso. So I take this small retreating step, I pass the leg, then I can fire off my round kick, okay? So again, these motions that we're practicing here, the probing step and the retreating step, they're not just limited to boxing. It's for both sports, all sports. It's for proper footwork, proper balance, and then just understanding how it moves our entire body. This one brings me closer. This one pulls me further away, okay? So the next one now is going to be a pivot cross, standing our ground now. And this is just to really emphasize turning the hips and turning the shoulders, driving that pivot foot down into the ground and throwing the proper right hand, right down the center and right back down the center of the pipe, okay? How this can be variations, it can be different punches. It can be an uppercut, it can be a rear hook or an overhand punch, okay? And it can be chained in with our other ones. So the first one was the probing step on the jab, then was the retreating, and now right when this foot comes down, I can already stab the ground with the ball of my foot and be firing off the right hand. Or I can probe jab, retreat jab, reset, and then just pivot and cross. Try both when you get comfortable doing both. Okay, so those are your first three. We got the probing step, the retreating step, and then standing your ground on the pivot cross. Now we're going to advance forward. Advancing 1, 2. So just like we did on our probe, we step with the jab, we step with the lead foot, then we bring the rear foot with us as we throw the right hand. Bang. So however far we step with the lead foot, that's how far we want to step with the rear foot. I step 2 inches, I'm going to step 2 inches. Now I'm right back to where I started. Right? I don't want to step 1 inch and then step 6 inches because now I'm too narrow. Okay? So this is a great way again of syncing up the hands and feet and finding that proper foot placement and balance. Okay? So advancing 1, 2, stepping on the jab, stepping on the cross. Stepping on the jab, stepping on the cross, and resetting back. Okay? Then we're going to backpedal, retreat as we throw a drop step jab, squaring up the stance. You notice my feet are now on the same line. Not good to be in a squared stance for too long, so we're going to drop step the cross, right back here. Okay? So we did the advancing 1, 2, and then right from here, we're going to reset, and we're going to throw the drop step jab. I like taking my head off the center line, all right, evading any punches that are coming in, and then I throw the right hand as I drop my right foot back, and I take my head off the center line again. Okay, so this is a great one, being dangerous even while moving backwards. So that's the fifth, and then the final is going to be just a switch step so we can get to southpaw. So I'm going to switch my feet entirely now as I fire off a jab. Bang. Then I reset, I'm in a southpaw stance. Okay, this motion you're obviously familiar with if you've thrown a switch kick, if you've thrown a switch knee, okay? So this motion, very common, especially in kickboxing and in MMA, if you're trying to just switch your stance, maybe you're trying to go to southpaw to shoot a penetration shot. TJ Dillashaw, Dominic Cruz, very common motion here that you'll see. So if we were to chain it all together now, probing step, retreating step, got the pivot cross, advancing 1, 2, backpedal 1, 2, switch jab, now we're southpaw, probing, retreating, standing your ground, advancing 1, 2, backpedal 1, 2, switch jab, back to orthodox. Okay, so this 6-step footwork pattern that I showed you right here was taken from the first class of my hybrid striking course on fightTIPS.com. And the reason why we start with this is because it teaches you proper balance, feet placement, weight distribution, and syncing up the hands and the feet. Because I believe one of the most overlooked aspects when teaching a beginner how to strike is punching while moving. Right? We're often taught how to throw a punch standing still, right, against a heavy bag or against a mitt. But that's not realistic to a fight. We're going to be moving around the ring, right? So you've got to practice realistically. So once you go through 1 through 6 and you got them all down, or 1 through 12, and you feel comfortable with these movements, then I want you to start to randomize it. I want you to just pick random numbers out of the air and do it. So let's say 1, 6, 3. So I go probing jab, switch jab, cross from southpaw. Do it again from southpaw now. Bang, bang, bang. Could be 2, 4, right? So we go bang, 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 bang. Okay? So once you get really comfortable to where you can just pick a number and you do the motion, then I want you to take it to the next level where you freestyle, right? Make it realistic, because we're not fighting in this straight line in a fight. We're not just going to be going forward and backwards. We're going to be angling off. It's 3-dimensional, so we got to use the whole ring. And then I want you to incorporate head movement, defense, blocks, slips, parries, rolls, bob and weave. And then I want you to incorporate feints as well, right? So we're going high and low with that probing step. Or maybe the second one, which is the retreating, isn't just stepping back on the jab. Maybe it's a pull counter. We're baiting them to throw a heavy right hand, and I go, bang. Not a jab, but it's a counterweight, same motion as this, but we're coming back and firing back with our 3, staying on the ground on the cross, right? Same exact motion. So maybe I probe him with the jab, he counters, bang. Same exact motions that we did in 2 and 3, just modified to be a little bit different. So you can work in uppercuts, you can work in hooks, you can start angling off and exiting, right? Feints, fates. Let me try it one more time. Feints and fakes. You got head movement, you got defense. Once you start to incorporate all of these things together, then you're gonna have a much more realistic approach to your training. Then you can start giving your shadowboxing opponent, have them give you different looks, right? Maybe I'm fighting against someone who's more evasive and I gotta chase them down. And I'm doing more forward pressure with the advancing one too. Or maybe I'm going against someone who's putting pressure on me and I need to fight on the back pedal. Okay? So ultimately what you're doing here is just understanding the concepts behind the movements. Why are we doing these exact movements? So understand the balance. So get comfortable with the balance and the actual motions, but understand the why behind the movement. Cool, so now you understand the concepts behind the movements. So you can go in order, 1 through 6 or 1 through 12, or you can mix it up entirely, or you can just freestyle and move around shadowbox as you would normally, but now you have the concepts in your mind, so then you can start to strategize properly when you're shadowboxing. Guys, I understand that gyms are closed, so for the next 14 days, we are extending our free trial on fightTIPS.com, so you have a place, you have guidance, you have coaching, you have a curriculum to follow on there. You won't pay anything at all within those 14 days. If your gym opens back up, I totally understand, cancel it, you won't pay anything, and then you can go back to your gym. But I wanted to just open this up and give you guys a place to train. Even if it's not physically. And again, the partner drills that are on there, there's both solo and partner drills. And with those partner drills, you can modify them and make them solo, right? You throw a jab and a cross and then the partner counters. I want you to practice those defenses. Practice the counters, get the reps in so that when you do go back to a gym, you can work on different levels of impact, but you're comfortable with the actual defense and the counters and the movements. All right. And I also encourage you guys to engage in the community aspect on fightTIPS.com. We have a forum on there with fighters from all over the world. And like I mentioned earlier, to me, community is one of the most important parts of martial arts. So I look forward to seeing you guys on there. Until next time, I'm Shane with fightTIPS for the Underdogs.